When the morning sunlight had just begun to shine, Mr. Benjamin Carter's old car made a distinctive hoarse sound and crashed completely in the farthest corner of the Washington High parking lot. This is always the location he chooses, the least noticeable place, away from the curious looks of people around, as he wants to hide the peeling paint and scratches on the old car. Benjamin sighed, gripped the steering wheel for a moment, then said to himself, "A new day, another chance for us to try." He picked up the thermos from the passenger seat, patted the car's controls as if thanking the car for trying another day, and then stepped out of it. The air was fresh and cool in the early morning, and it was quiet outside, except for the distant chirping of birds and the soft hum of passing delivery trucks. Washington High School slowly woke up, and Benjamin liked the stillness of that moment, a little quiet before the busy work day began. He felt proud as he pulled the cleaning truck through the empty hallways. Under the overhead light, the floors were shiny, the result of the meticulous care he devoted to every little corner of the school. Benjamin knew that most people didn't pay attention to his work, but to him that didn't matter. Work is not about recognition but about doing the right thing. Every classroom, every hallway, every trash can, he handled with dedication and thoughtfulness. To the students, he was simply Mr. Carter, the janitor who always had a warm smile and a kind word ready. He knew their names, their favorite sports, even their little quirks. "Good morning, Marcus, how's that science project coming along?" Or "Jenny, that goal you scored yesterday was amazing." These small exchanges were part of his daily rhythm, his way of connecting in a role that often felt invisible. But outside the school's walls, Benjamin's life wasn't as polished as the floors he took pride in. He had grown up in a small Ohio town where opportunities were scarce. Losing his beloved wife to cancer 10 years ago had been the hardest blow of all. From that moment on, he became both father and mother to their 2 children, shouldering the responsibilities of provider, caregiver, and disciplinarian. He worked long hours to put food on the table and a roof over their heads, sacrificing his own comfort to give his kids a chance at a better future. His old sedan with its sputtering engine was a daily reminder of those sacrifices. Each commute felt like a gamble. Some mornings the car refused to start, forcing him to rely on borrowed rides or long walks. Yet he never let it dampen his spirit. One day at a time, he would remind himself as he tightened his grip on the steering wheel and coaxed the car into motion. Despite the hardships, Benjamin never lost sight of what mattered most: his children. They were his entire world, and everything he did was for them. He dreamed of seeing them achieve things he never could, and that dream kept him moving forward even on the toughest days. Unbeknownst to Benjamin, his quiet resilience and kindness hadn't gone unnoticed. One student in particular, Nathaniel Cooper, had been paying close attention. Nathaniel could hear the weariness hidden in Mr. Carter's voice, the quiet undertones of a man who had sacrificed so much for his family. It lingered in the way he spoke, in the subtle pauses that hinted at the weight he carried daily. One afternoon, unable to hold back any longer, Nathaniel finally asked the question that had been troubling him since the day he saw Mr. Carter fixing his car. "Mr. Carter, why don't you get a new car? That one looks like it's ready to give up on you," Nathaniel said, his voice hesitant but curious. Benjamin chuckled, shaking his head as he wiped his hands on an old rag. "A new car, huh? Well, those things cost money, Nathaniel. And money's not something I've got a lot of," he said, smiling faintly. "Besides, as long as it gets me where I need to go, it's good enough for me." But Nathaniel couldn't let it go. The more he learned about Mr. Carter, the more the weight of his story pressed on him. Benjamin Carter wasn't just a janitor. He was a father, a role model, and the unsung hero of Washington High. He poured his heart into his work, not for recognition but simply because he cared. It didn't sit right with Nathaniel that someone who gave so much of himself asked for so little in return. That evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Nathaniel broached the topic with his parents. Pushing his peas around on his plate, he finally spoke up. "You know Mr. Carter? The janitor at school?" His father nodded, looking up from his meal. "The one who's always smiling?" "Yeah, I've seen him." Nathaniel set his fork down, his expression serious. "I think we should help him. His car barely runs and he works so hard for everyone at school. He never asks for anything, but he deserves more." His mother tilted her head, studying him carefully. "What are you thinking, Nathaniel?" Nathaniel hesitated, gathering his thoughts before responding. "I want to get him a car. Something reliable, something he doesn't have to fix every weekend just to get to work." His parents exchanged a glance, their faces a mix of surprise and admiration. "That's a big gesture, son," his father said cautiously. "Do you have a plan?" "I'll figure it out," Nathaniel replied, his voice steady and determined. He's done so much for all of us. I can't just sit by and do nothing. Nathaniel's conviction was clear, but he knew one thing for certain. He couldn't do this alone. Once the idea of helping Mr. Carter took hold, Nathaniel couldn't let it go. Every time he saw him polishing floors or fixing a broken locker, the sense of urgency grew. But buying a car wasn't something a teenager could do on a whim. It would take a plan and help. Nathaniel went back to his parents that night, sharing an expanded version of his idea. I don't want this to just be for me, he explained. It should come from everyone at school. Mr. Carter has touched so many lives. I think it would mean more if we all pitched in. His father leaned back in his chair, nodding thoughtfully. You're right. This isn't just about money, it's about showing him how much he's appreciated. You'll need to get people involved, teachers, students, staff. Are you ready for that? Nathaniel hesitated for only a moment before nodding. I'll do whatever it takes. The very next day he began putting his plan into action. During lunch he quietly approached a few trusted classmates. You know Mr. Carter, right? The janitor? He started, testing the waters. Of course, one friend replied. He's awesome. Why? Nathaniel leaned in, lowering his voice. I want to get him a new car. His is falling apart and he works so hard for all of us. I think it's time we did something for him. The reactions ranged from surprise to excitement. That's huge, one friend said. How are we supposed to pull that off? We'll figure it out, Nathaniel replied confidently. I'm not asking for a lot from anyone, just whatever they can give. If we all chip in even a little, it'll add up. Word began to spread quietly. Nathaniel spoke with teachers, coaches, and even the school counselor, explaining his plan. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Mr. Carter is one of the hardest working people here, one teacher said, slipping Nathaniel a $50 bill. Count me in. Still, even with everyone's contributions, the cost of a new car was steep. That's when his parents stepped in. His father contacted a local dealership, sharing Mr. Carter's story. Touched by the gesture, the manager agreed to sell a brand new red Jeep SUV at a significant discount. We'll cover the rest, Nathaniel's father said. You just focus on making this special for him. With the car secured, the focus shifted to the reveal. After brainstorming with friends and teachers, they decided to surprise Mr. Carter during the Friday school assembly. It was perfect, everyone would be there to honor him. The school buzzed with anticipation as students worked on a massive banner reading, "Thank you, Mr. Carter," decorated with messages of gratitude. Teachers coordinated logistics, ensuring Mr. Carter would attend without suspecting a thing. Nathaniel rehearsed his speech late into the night, pacing his room as he practiced, hoping his words would do justice to Mr. Carter's impact. As Friday approached, the excitement grew. Students whispered in hallways, careful not to let Mr. Carter overhear. Teachers shared stories of his kindness, amplifying the sense of community. By Thursday, everything was ready, the car gleamed behind the gym, and every detail was meticulously planned. When enthusiastic applause filled the room, the principal of Washington High stepped onto the stage, greeting everyone and saying briefly, "Today this assembly isn't about academics or announcements. We are here to honor a member of our community." This piqued Benjamin Carter's interest, though he still had no clue what was about to happen. Then Nathaniel Cooper, the quiet and observant student, walked onto the stage holding a stack of note cards. Benjamin immediately recognized Nathaniel. He was the kind of student who always greeted him politely in the hallways. Benjamin smiled faintly, assuming Nathaniel must have done something impressive to be given the opportunity to speak in front of the entire school. "Good morning, everyone," Nathaniel began, his voice steady but tinged with deep emotion. "Today I'm here to talk about someone who I believe deserves recognition. Someone who makes this school a better place every single day." Benjamin furrowed his brow slightly and sat up straighter, looking around to guess who Nathaniel might be talking about. "I'm talking about Mr. Carter," Nathaniel continued, and the entire room erupted into applause. Benjamin froze in his seat, stunned. He gripped the edges of his chair tightly, his eyes locked on the young man standing on the stage. Nathaniel smiled, waiting for the applause to settle before continuing. "Mr. Carter isn't just our janitor. He's the person who shows up every morning to make sure our classrooms are spotless, our hallways are clean, and our school truly feels like a second home. He's the one who fixes what's broken, whether it's a locker, a leaky faucet, or even our spirits when we're having a bad day." Nathaniel's words hit Benjamin like a wave. He had always done his work quietly, never expecting thanks, but hearing someone openly acknowledge it like this left him overwhelmed. As the lights dimmed, a video began playing on the large screen behind Nathaniel. It was a montage of clips and photos of Benjamin at work, mopping floors, repairing broken chairs, carrying supplies. Interspersed were interviews with students and staff sharing how much Benjamin meant to them. "He always has a smile for you," one student said. "He never complains even when we make his job harder," another admitted sheepishly. Laughter rippled through the auditorium, but Benjamin couldn't laugh. He was too stunned, his throat tightening as he tried to process what was happening. By the time the video ended, the entire auditorium was on its feet, clapping and cheering. Nathaniel stepped forward again, his voice unwavering. "Mr. Carter, we know you never ask for anything. But we see you. We see how hard you work, how much you care, and how much you give to this school. Today we want to give something back to you." Nathaniel gestured toward the side of the stage, where the double doors opened to reveal a gleaming silver pickup truck parked beneath a large banner that read, "Thank you, Mr. Carter." The applause roared again and Benjamin was frozen in shock, his eyes fixed on the truck. "Mr. Carter," Nathaniel said, turning to him with a warm smile, "this is for you, from all of us." The spotlight shifted to Benjamin, who still hadn't risen from his seat. A teacher gently touched his shoulder, encouraging him to stand. Slowly he rose to his feet, his legs trembling as he made his way toward the stage. When he reached the truck, he placed a hand on its smooth, polished surface and turned back to face the crowd. Tears streamed down his face. I don't know what to say," he stammered, his voice shaking with emotion. "You didn't have to do this. I just do my job." But as the applause grew even louder, Benjamin began to realize this wasn't just about the truck. It was about all the lives he had quietly touched and the community that had come together to show him his kindness had not gone unnoticed. "But your smile reminded me that someone saw me. I hope today showed you how much you mean to all of us." Benjamin Carter read the note twice, his throat tightening with emotion. It wasn't just about the truck or the applause, it was the quiet acknowledgement of the small, seemingly invisible things he did every day now brought into the light. For the first time in years he felt truly seen. Later that afternoon, as Benjamin prepared to leave, the silver pickup truck gleamed under the sun in the staff parking lot, a sharp contrast to the worn-out sedan it replaced. His two children clambered into the back seat, their laughter ringing out as they eagerly explored every button and feature. "It even smells new," his daughter exclaimed, running her hands over the smooth upholstery. Benjamin paused before climbing into the driver's seat, turning back to look at the school one more time. The day's events played out in his mind. The cheers, the heartfelt speeches, and Nathaniel's steady, impassioned voice as he spoke about the difference one person could make. 4 years, Benjamin had cleaned the hallways of Washington High, quietly going about his work, never expecting recognition or praise. But today he learned something he hadn't fully realized. Every small act of kindness, no matter how unassuming, leaves an impression, a ripple that touches lives far beyond his own. As he drove home, the truck hummed smoothly beneath him, a stark contrast to the sputtering groans of his old car. His son leaned forward from the back seat, a wide grin on his face. "You know, Dad, this truck is amazing. But you know what's even cooler? That everyone loves you so much. I mean, they really love you." Benjamin glanced at his son in the rearview mirror, his heart swelling. "It's not about being loved, son," he said softly. "It's about doing what's right, even when no one's watching. And sometimes, when you least expect it, people show you that they were watching all along." That evening, after the excitement had settled, Benjamin sat at the kitchen table, staring out the window. The truck sat proudly in the driveway, its polished surface reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun. In the living room, his children chattered animatedly, their voices filled with joy as they talked about their plans for the weekend. For the first time in years, Benjamin felt a profound sense of peace. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the student's note, reading it once more. His mind returned to the way Nathaniel had described him during the assembly, not just as a janitor, but as a vital part of the school's community. It wasn't about the truck, it was about what it symbolized. Benjamin realized that all the small things he'd done, the kindness he offered without expecting anything in return, had created a ripple effect. The students, teachers, and even parents had noticed, and today they had given back in a way that left him humbled and deeply moved. In the days that followed, the story of the assembly spread far beyond the walls of Washington High. Students shared clips of the moment on social media, and before long the story went viral. People from all over commented, sharing their own tales of unsung heroes who had impacted their lives. Benjamin was stunned by the attention but grateful for the opportunity to inspire others. If his story encouraged even one person to show kindness or gratitude, it was worth it. Reflecting on the day, Benjamin realized that the most valuable lesson wasn't the one he had learned, It was the one the students had demonstrated. Gratitude has the power to transform. It connects people and lifts them in ways that extend far beyond material gestures. A simple acknowledgement of someone's hard work and dedication can light a spark that carries on indefinitely. For Benjamin, the silver pickup truck would always be a reminder of the community that embraced him, not just for the work he did but for the person he was. And for the students, the day served as a lasting lesson in the importance of coming together to celebrate those who make the world better, one quiet act of kindness at a time. As the sun set on that unforgettable day, Benjamin sat on the porch with his children, watching them laugh and dream about the future. He smiled, a deep contentment settling over him. "This isn't just about me," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "It's about all of us. Kindness is contagious, and if we keep it going, who knows what it can do." So let's take a moment to reflect on this story. Who in your life deserves a thank you, a kind word, or even just a smile? Because as Benjamin's story reminds us, even the smallest gestures can lead to extraordinary moments. Benjamin Carter's story doesn't end here. From a dedicated janitor quietly performing his duties, he now stands at a crossroads, facing a new opportunity and a different beginning. The warmth and gratitude from the Washington High community have ignited a spark within him. How can he spread the kindness he has received? Will Benjamin find ways to help those around him who are silently sacrificing and contributing, just as he once did? Or will he embark on a bold plan, joining forces with young people like Nathaniel to create a larger movement of change for the Washington High community? The next chapter will not only be a journey of gratitude but also one of connection, new challenges, and unexpected moments. Alongside this, untold stories about Nathaniel, Benjamin's family, and the students of Washington High will be revealed. Can the small things Benjamin has always believed in, kindness, perseverance, truly make a difference in a world filled with hardships? Join us as we explore how Benjamin Carter faces the new twists and turns of his life. The decisions he makes, the people he meets, and the way he turns gratitude into action will leave you deeply moved and inspired. Don't miss part 2, where kindness spreads, inspirational stories unfold, and the magic of genuine hearts creates extraordinary change.